If you want to know who controls you, look at who you are not allowed to criticize. If there's life on other planets, then the Earth is the universe's insane asylum. Anyone who has the power to make you believe absurdities has the power to make you commit injustices. The more often a stupidity is repeated, the more it gets the appearance of wisdom. The right to free speech is more important than the content of the speech. It is difficult to free fools from the chains they revere. Doctors put drugs of which they know little into bodies of which they know less for diseases of which they know nothing at all. Those who can be made to believe absurdities can be made to commit atrocities. Many are destined to reason wrongly, others not to reason at all, and others to persecute those who do reason. The most important decision you make is to be in a good mood. It is dangerous to be right in matters where established men are wrong. Everything you say should be true, but not everything true should be said. The comfort of the rich depends upon an abundant supply of the poor. The mirror is a worthless invention. The only way to truly see yourself is in the reflection of someone else's eyes. Judge a man by his questions rather than his answers. In general, the art of government consists of taking as much money as possible from one class of citizens to give to another. The only way to comprehend what mathematicians mean by infinity is to contemplate the extent of human stupidity. Don't think money does everything, or you are going to end up doing everything for money. The more a man knows, the less he talks. What is history? The lie that everyone agrees on. It is not inequality which is the real misfortune, it is dependence. Beware of the words internal security, for they are the eternal cry of the oppressor. Is politics nothing other than the art of deliberately lying? The happiest of all lives is a busy solitude. Life is a shipwreck, but we must not forget to sing in the lifeboats. The art of government is to make 2/3 of a nation pay all it possibly can pay for the benefit of the other third. Prejudices are what fools use for reason. The more I read, the more I acquire, the more certain I am that I know nothing. We are all guilty of the good we did not do. The longer we dwell on our misfortunes, the greater is their power to harm us. Democracy is just a filler for textbooks. Do you actually believe that public opinion influences the government? The art of medicine consists in amusing the patient while nature cures the disease. Dare to think for yourself. It is clear that the individual who persecutes a man, his brother, because he is not of the same opinion, is a monster. Cherish those who seek the truth, but beware of those who find it. Common sense is not so common. Think for yourselves and let others enjoy the privilege to do so, too. Paper money eventually returns to its intrinsic value, 0. Opinion has caused more trouble on this little earth than plagues or earthquakes. You have no control over the hand that life deals you, but how you play that hand is entirely up to you. Tyrants have always some slight shade of virtue. They support the laws before destroying them. Doubt is uncomfortable, certainty is ridiculous. I have never made but one prayer to God, a very short one. O Lord, make my enemies ridiculous, and God granted it. The tyranny of the many would be when one body takes over the rights of others, and then exercises its power to change the laws in its favor. Every man is a creature of the age in which he lives, and few are able to raise themselves above the ideas of the time. No problem can withstand the assault of sustained thinking. No opinion is worth burning your neighbor for. As long as people believe in absurdities, they will continue to commit atrocities. It is forbidden to kill, therefore all murderers are punished unless they kill in large numbers and to the sound of trumpets. A long dispute means both parties are wrong. What is madness? To have erroneous perceptions and to reason correctly from them. The true triumph of reason is that it enables us to get along with those who do not possess it. Being unable to make people more reasonable, I prefer to be happy away from them. To succeed in the world, it is not enough to be stupid. You must also be well-mannered. I cannot imagine how the clockwork of the universe can exist without a clockmaker. If one does not reflect, one thinks oneself master of everything. But when one does reflect, one realizes that one is master of nothing. Writing is the painting of the voice. The Bible, that is what fools have written, what imbeciles commend, what rogues teach, and young children are made to learn by heart. A yawn may not be polite, but at least it is an honest opinion. Clever tyrants are never punished. Work spares us from three evils: boredom, vice, and need. God created sex, priests created marriage. The more you know, the less sure you are. Present opportunities are not to be neglected. They rarely visit us twice. The best government is a benevolent tyranny tempered by an occasional assassination. God gave us the gift of life. It is up to us to give ourselves the gift of living well. All the reasonings of men are not worth one sentiment of women. It is the characteristic of the most stringent censorships that they give credibility to the opinions they attack. Christianity is the most ridiculous, the most absurd and bloody religion that has ever infected the world. The perfect is the enemy of the good. When it is a question of money, everybody is of the same religion. If we believe absurdities, we shall commit atrocities. Faith consists in believing what reason cannot. He must be very ignorant, for he answers every question he is asked. One great use of words is to hide our thoughts. Earth is an insane asylum to which the other planets deport their lunatics. The more he became truly wise, the more he distrusted everything he knew. The biggest reward for a thing well done is to have done it. May God defend me from my friends. I can defend myself from my enemies. Be bold, proclaim it everywhere. They only live who dare. There is no such thing as an accident. What we call by that name is the effect of some cause which we do not see. I have chosen to be happy because it is good for my health. The man who says to me, "Believe as I do, or God will damn you," will presently say, "Believe as I do, or I shall assassinate you." Liberty of thought is the life of the soul. One day everything will be well. That is our hope. Everything's fine today. That is our illusion. To the wicked, everything serves as pretext. The true character of liberty is independence, maintained by force. God created woman to tame man. We are all full of weakness and errors. Let us mutually pardon each other our follies. It is the first law of nature. If you have two religions in your land, the two will cut each other's throats. But if you have 30 religions, they will dwell in peace. Time is man's most precious asset. All men neglect it. All regret the loss of it. Nothing can be done without it. Wherever my travels may lead, paradise is where I am. I hate women because they always know where things are. The greatest consolation in life is to say what one thinks. There can be no happiness without good health. To really enjoy pleasures, you must know how to leave them. Marriage is the only adventure open to the cowardly. Never having been able to succeed in the world, he took his revenge by speaking ill of it. War is the greatest of all crimes, and yet there is no aggressor who does not color his crime with the pretext of justice. If mankind were born tomorrow, it would divide into groups. Each would scramble to invent their one and only God and set about butchering each other. A man loved by a beautiful woman will always get out of trouble. The Jews are of all peoples the grossest, the most ferocious, the most fanatical, and the most absurd. It is said that the present is pregnant with the future. He who thinks himself wise, O heavens, is a great fool. Our wretched species is so made that those who walk on the well-trodden path always throw stones at those who are showing a new road. Common sense is both more rare and more desirable in leaders than mere intelligence. Men will always be mad, and those who think they can cure them are the maddest of all. What most persons consider as virtue after the age of 40 is simply a loss of energy. One should always aim at being interesting rather than exact. Tears are the silent language of grief. Ice cream is exquisite. What a pity it isn't illegal. It is the first law of friendship that it has to be cultivated. The second is to be indulgent when the first law is neglected. He who seeks truth should be of no country. God is a circle whose center is everywhere and circumference nowhere. Optimism is the madness of insisting that all is well when we are miserable. I would rather obey a fine lion, much stronger than myself, than 200 rats of my own species. To achieve a goal, a dream, a wish, you must plan it out for success. History never repeats itself. Man always does. There are two things for which animals are to be envied. They know nothing of future evils, or of what people say about them. Man is free at the instant he wants to be. Prejudices are what rule the vulgar crowd. A clergyman is one who feels himself called upon to live without working at the expense of the rascals who work to live. Being a bird ain't all about flying and shitting from high places. Discord is the great ill of mankind, and tolerance is the only remedy for it. Atheism is the vice of a few intelligent people. He who cannot shine by thought seeks to bring himself into notice by a witticism. Chance is a word void of sense. Nothing can exist without a cause. It is not the answers you give, but the questions you ask. There are truths which are not for all men, nor for all times. Poetry is the music of the soul, and, above all, of great and feeling souls. Use, do not abuse, neither abstinence nor excess ever renders man happy. The secret of being a bore is to tell everything. It is up to us to cultivate our garden. Persistence with patience and prayer pays with profits, prosperity, and peace of mind. Appreciation is a wonderful thing. It makes what is excellent in others belong to us as well. Such then is the human condition, that to wish greatness for one's country is to wish harm to one's neighbors. Fanaticism is a monster that pretends to be the child of religion. The pursuit of pleasure must be the goal of every rational person. I know of no great men except those who have rendered great service to the human race. God is always on the side of the heaviest battalions. Men argue, nature acts. Our priests are not what a silly populace supposes. All their learning consists in our credulity. Men will commit atrocities as long as they believe absurdities. To make a vow for life is to make oneself a slave. Those who think are excessively few, and those few do not set themselves to disturb the world. He was a great patriot, a humanitarian, a loyal friend, provided, of course, he really is dead. Men hate the individual whom they call avaricious only because there is nothing to be gained by him. It requires ages to destroy a popular opinion. True greatness consists in the use of a powerful understanding to enlighten oneself and others. Let all the laws be clear, uniform, and precise, for interpreting laws is almost always to corrupt them. To pray to God is to flatter oneself that with words one can alter nature. Stand upright, speak thy thoughts, declare the truth thou hast, that all may share. Be bold, proclaim it everywhere, they only live who dare. History contains little beyond a list of people who have accommodated themselves with other people's property. Faith consists in believing when it is beyond the power of reason to believe. Paradise was made for tender hearts, hell for loveless hearts. To hold a pen is to be at war. It is one of the superstitions of the human mind to have imagined that virginity could be a virtue. To announce truths is an infallible receipt for being persecuted. Men are equal. It is not birth but virtue that makes the difference. The safest course is to do nothing against one's conscience. With this secret, we can enjoy life and have no fear from death. Love truth, but pardon error. We only half live when we only half think. In every province, the chief occupations, in order of importance, are lovemaking, malicious gossip, and talking nonsense. Dogs, monkeys, and parrots are 1,000 times less miserable than we are. Prejudice is an opinion without judgment. Originality is nothing but judicious imitation. The most original writers borrowed one from another. It is not more surprising to be born twice than once. Everything in nature is resurrection. Go get yourself crucified and then rise on the third day. It is the triumph of superior reason to live with folks who don't have any. The interest I have to believe a thing is no proof that such a thing exists. Self-love is the instrument of our preservation. He who doesn't have the spirit of his time has all its misery. There is only one morality, as there is only one geometry. Fame is a heavy burden. Slavery is also as ancient as war, and war as human nature. It is not enough to conquer, one must learn to seduce. Madness is to think of too many things in succession too fast, or of one thing too exclusively. How pleasant it is for a father to sit at his child's board. It is like an aged man reclining under the shadow of an oak which he has planted. All men are born with a nose and 10 fingers, but no one was born with a knowledge of God. All sects are different because they come from men. Morality is everywhere the same because it comes from God. There are men who can think no deeper than a fact. True power and true politeness are above vanity. Everything's fine today, that is our illusion. Adultery is an evil only inasmuch as it is a theft, but we do not steal that which is given to us. Mortals are equal, their mass differs. What is not in nature can never be true. The prudent man does himself good, the virtuous one does it to other men. We should be considerate to the living, to the dead we owe only the truth. It is better to risk saving a guilty man than to condemn an innocent one. A false science makes atheists. A true science prostrates men before the deity. All succeeds with people who are sweet and cheerful. The most genuine and efficacious charity is that which greases the paws of the priest. Such charity covers a multitude of sins. Nothing can be more contrary to religion and the clergy than reason and common sense. Do well and you will have no need for ancestors. Faith consists in believing not what seems true, but what seems false to our understanding. Indolence is sweet and its consequences bitter. History is only the pattern of silken slippers descending the stairs to the thunder of hobnailed boots climbing upward from below. Men use thought only as authority for their injustice, and employ speech only to conceal their thoughts. The truths of religion are never so well understood as by those who have lost the power of reason. Nothing would be more tiresome than eating and drinking if God had not made them a pleasure as well as a necessity. The man who leaves money to charity in his will is only giving away what no longer belongs to him. Great men have all been formed either before academies or independent of them. There are no sects in geometry. The passions are the winds which fill the sails of the vessel. They sink it at times, but without them it would be impossible to make way. Pleasure has its time, so too has wisdom. Make love in thy youth, and in old age attend to thy salvation. History is the study of the world's crime. Most of my life has been one tragedy after another, most of which hasn't happened. A multitude of laws in a country is like a great number of physicians, a sign of weakness and malady. Philosopher, a lover of wisdom, which is to say, truth. If God created us in His own image, we have more than reciprocated. A woman can keep one secret, the secret of her age. If it's too silly to be said, it can always be sung. It is love, love, the comfort of the human species, the preserver of the universe, the soul of all sentient beings, love, tender love. It is love, love, the comfort of the human species, the preserver of the universe, the soul of all sentient beings, love, tender love. A little evil is often necessary for obtaining a great good. He is lifeless that is faultless. If God did not exist, it would be necessary to invent him. Whosoever does not know how to recognize the faults of great men is incapable of estimating their perfections. The history of human opinion is scarcely anything more than the history of human errors. Only your friends steal your books. God prefers bad verses recited with a pure heart to the finest verses chanted by the wicked. If you want good laws, burn those you have and make new ones. If you are attacked as regards your style, never reply. It is for your work alone to make answer. Ideas are like beards. Men do not have them until they grow up. It is lamentable that to be a good patriot one must become the enemy of the rest of mankind. The opportunity for doing mischief is found 100 times a day, and of doing good once in a year. Originality is nothing but judicious plagiarism. The punishment of criminals should be of use. When a man is hanged, he is good for nothing. I read only to please myself, and enjoy only what suits my taste. The famous physician Dumoulin said when dying, "I leave two great physicians behind me, simple food and pure water." Let us confess it, evil strides the world. The monster, fanaticism, still exists, and whoever seeks after truth will run the risk of being persecuted. In the case of news, we should always wait for the sacrament of confirmation. Indeed, history is nothing more than a tableau of crimes and misfortunes. We are obliged to place ourselves on the level of our age before we can rise above it. A physician is one who pours drugs of which he knows little into a body of which he knows less. We know that all the arts are brothers, that each of them illuminates another, and that a universal light results. A good imitation is the most perfect originality. Anyone who seeks to destroy the passions instead of controlling them is trying to play the angel. Reading nurtures the soul, and an enlightened friend brings it solace. When truth is evident, it is impossible for parties and factions to rise. There never has been a dispute as to whether there is daylight at noon. What, have you no monks to teach, to dispute, to govern, to intrigue, and to burn people who do not agree with them? Constant happiness is the philosopher's stone of the soul. Of all religions, the Christian should of course inspire the most tolerance, but until now Christians have been the most intolerant of all men. A lady of honor may be raped once, but it strengthens her virtue. If we would destroy the Christian religion, we must first of all destroy man's belief in the Bible. Inspiration, a peculiar effect of divine flatulence emitted by the Holy Spirit, which hisses into the ears of a few chosen of God. Exaggeration, the inseparable companion of greatness. It is vain for the coward to flee, death follows close behind. It is only by defying it that the brave escape. Secret griefs are more cruel than public calamities. Needless to say, since Christ's expiation, not one single Christian has been known to sin or die. Verses which do not teach men new and moving truths do not deserve to be read. There is a pleasure in not being pleased. A good cook is a certain slow poisoner if you are not temperate. I die adoring God, loving my friends, not hating my enemies, and detesting superstition. Injustice in the end produces independence. Where some states possess an army, the Prussian army possesses a state. History is the recital of facts represented as true. Fable, on the other hand, is the recital of facts represented as fiction. It is only through timidity that states are lost. The best is the enemy of the good. For 1700 years, the Christian sect has done nothing but harm. A physician is an unfortunate gentleman who is every day required to perform a miracle, namely to reconcile health with intemperance. A good action is preferable to an argument. Shun idleness. It is rust that attaches itself to the most brilliant metals. To enjoy life, we must touch much of it lightly. Let each of us boldly and honestly say, how little it is that I really know. We adore, we invoke, we seek to appease only that which we fear. History is fables agreed upon. Villains are undone by what is worst in them, heroes by what is best. Historians are gossips who tease the dead. The only way to compel men to speak good of us is to do it. It is not love that should be depicted as blind, but self-love. To To succeed in chaining the multitude, you must seem to wear the same fetters. We are rarely proud when we are alone. Every abuse ought to be reformed, unless the reform is more dangerous than the abuse itself. The way to be a bore is to say everything. What can we say with certainty? My soul is the mirror of the universe, and my body is its frame. Come, you presents will either give me life or kill me with pleasure. Nature has always had more force than education. The darkness is at its deepest, just before the sunrise. Men use thought only to justify their wrongdoings, and employ speech only to conceal their thoughts. Perfect is the enemy of good. We cannot wish for that we know not. Christians have been the most intolerant of all men. Weakness on both sides is, as we know, the motto of all quarrels. If you wish to converse with me, define your terms. History is nothing but a pack of tricks that we play upon the dead. Perfection is attained by slow degrees. It requires the hand of time. In the matter of taxation, every privilege is an injustice. The composition of a tragedy requires testicles. The Pope is an idol whose hands are tied and whose feet are kissed. The sovereign is called a tyrant who knows no laws but his caprice. Another century and there will not be a Bible on earth. 20-volume folios will never make a revolution. It's the little pocket pamphlets that are to be feared. To believe in God is impossible. Not to believe in Him is absurd. A small number of choice books are sufficient. The man visited by ecstasies and visions, who takes dreams for realities, is an enthusiast. The man who supports his madness with murder is a fanatic. I have no morals, yet I am a very moral person. One feels like crawling on all fours after reading your work. Let us read and let us dance. These two amusements will never do any harm to the world. All the known world, excepting only savage nations, is governed by books. God is not on the side of the big battalions, but on the side of those who shoot best. The women are never at a loss. God provides for them. Let us run. We're neither pure, nor wise, nor good. We do the best we know. The sentiment of justice is so natural and so universally acquired by all mankind that it seems to be independent of all law, all party, all religion. The man who, in a fit of melancholy, kills himself today would have wished to live had he waited a week. Monsieur Elab, I detest what you write, but I would give my life to make it possible for you to continue to write. Superstition sets the whole world in flames, but philosophy douses them. A fool is a person who guesses and gets it wrong. A clever man is one who guesses, regardless of time period, and gets it right. The malevolence of men revealed itself to his mind in all of its ugliness. All pleasantry should be short, and it might even be as well, were the serious short also. Work is often the father of pleasure. Our labor preserves us from three great evils: weariness, vice, and want. All men have equal rights to liberty, to their property, and to the protection of the laws. Fanaticism, to which men are so much inclined, has always served not only to render them more brutalized, but more wicked. An ideal form of government is democracy tempered with assassination. Fools admire everything in an author of reputation. Music is the pathway to the heart. The public is a ferocious beast. One must either chain it or flee from it. When we cannot use the compass of mathematics or the torch of experience, it is certain we cannot take a single step forward. We all look for happiness, but without knowing where to find it, like drunkards who look for their house, knowing dimly that they have one. One always speaks badly when one has nothing to say. Let us cultivate our garden. Why are the Jews hated? It is the inevitable result of their laws. They either have to conquer everybody or be hated by the whole human race. Minds differ still more than faces. England has 42 religions and only 2 sauces. We cannot always oblige, but we can always speak obligingly. We must distinguish between speaking to deceive and being silent to be reserved. All the citizens of a state cannot be equally powerful, but they may be equally free. It is as impossible to translate poetry as it is to translate music. He shines in the second rank who is eclipsed in the first. Once the people begin to reason, all is lost. We never live. We are always in the expectation of living. The road to the heart is the ear. An infallible method of making fanatics is to persuade before you instruct. I was never ruined but twice, once when I lost a lawsuit, and once when I won one. If God has made us in His image, we have returned Him the favor. Errors flies from mouth to mouth, from pen to pen, and to destroy it takes ages. Every beauty, when out of its place, is a beauty no longer. When one man speaks to another man who doesn't understand him, and when a man who's speaking no longer understands, it's metaphysics. The progress of rivers to the ocean is not so rapid as that of man to error. History is the lie commonly agreed upon. Truth is a fruit which should not be plucked until it is ripe. I am very fond of truth, but not at all of martyrdom. Thought depends absolutely on the stomach, but in spite of that, those who have the best stomachs are not the best thinkers. How I like the boldness of the English, how I like the people who say what they think. Men are in general so tricky, so envious, and so cruel that when we find one who is only weak, we are too happy. I loved him as we always loved the first time, with idolatry and wild passion. Translations increase the faults of a work and spoil its beauties. All is for the best in the best of all possible worlds. History is a pack of lies we play on the dead. Will is wish, and liberty is power. I am a little deaf, a little blind, a little important, and on top of this are 2 or 3 abominable infirmities, but nothing destroys my hope. The ear is the avenue to the heart. I keep to old books, for they teach me something. From the new I learn very little. The first step, my son, which one makes in the world, is the one on which depends the rest of our days. It is the flash which appears, the thunderbolt will follow. The superfluous is the most necessary. The rude beginnings of every art acquire a greater celebrity than the art in perfection. He who first played the fiddle was looked upon as a demigod. History is only the register of crimes and misfortunes. Men, generally going with the stream, seldom judge for themselves, and purity of taste is almost as rare as talent. By appreciation, we make excellence in others our own property. The world embarrasses me, and I cannot dream that this watch exists and has no watchmaker. Almost all life depends on probabilities. Fear could never make virtue. The only reward to be expected from literature is contempt if one fails, and hatred if one succeeds. The policy of man consists, at first, in endeavoring to arrive at a state equal to that of animals whom nature has furnished with food, clothing, and shelter. Hope should no more be a virtue than fear. We fear and we hope, according to what is promised or threatened us. In France, every man is either an anvil or a hammer. He is a beater or must be beaten. Anything too stupid to be said is sung. I hold firmly to my original views. After all, I am a philosopher. There are some that only employ words for the purpose of disguising their thoughts. It is with books as with men. A very small number play a great part. The superfluous, a very necessary thing. Friendship is the marriage of the soul, and this marriage is liable to divorce. A witty saying proves nothing, but saying something pointless gets people's attention. The spirit of property doubles a man's strength. You are very harsh. I have seen the world. We have our arts. The ancients had theirs. We cannot raise obelisks 100 feet high in a single piece, but our meridians are more exact. In every author let us distinguish the man from his works. The multitude of books is making us ignorant. Paradise is where I am. The most amazing and effective inventions are not those which do most honor to the human genius. Where there is friendship, there is our natural soil. Virtuous men alone possess friends. The instinct of a man is to pursue everything that flies from him, and to fly from all that pursue him. Satire lies about literary men while they live, and eulogy lies about them when they die. Doubt is not a pleasant condition, but certainty is absurd. Love has various lodgings. The same word does not always signify the same thing. The infinitely little have a pride infinitely great. I acknowledge that 4,000 volumes of metaphysics will not teach us what our soul is. One of the chief misfortunes of honest people is that they are cowardly. It is an infantile superstition of the human spirit that virginity would be thought a virtue and not the barrier that separates ignorance from knowledge. Love is a canvas furnished by nature and embroidered by imagination. It is far better to be silent than merely to increase the quantity of bad books. Liberty, then, about which so many volumes have been written is, when accurately defined, only the power of acting. Governments need to have both shepherds and butchers. What is tolerance? It is the consequence of humanity. We are astonished at thought, but sensation is equally wonderful. Everything can be borne except contempt. The effervescence of this fresh wine reveals the true brilliance of the French people. Happiness is a good that nature sells us. Truth is a fruit that can only be picked when it is very ripe. What would constitute useful history? That which should teach us our duties and our rights without appearing to teach them. What a pessimist you are, exclaimed Candide. That is because I know what life is, said Martin. You can never correct your work well until you have forgotten it. The Holy Roman Empire is neither holy nor Roman, nor an empire. The first clergyman was the first rascal who met the first fool. Fear follows crime and is its punishment. Life is bristling with thorns, and I know no other remedy than to cultivate one's garden. The fate of a nation has often depended upon the good or bad digestion of a prime minister. History is filled with the sound of silken slippers going downstairs and wooden shoes coming up. Better is the enemy of good. Providence has given us hope and sleep as a compensation for the many cares of life. The ancients recommended us to sacrifice to the graces, but Milton sacrificed to the devil. I serve your bone to my friends, but your Volney I keep for myself. Changing a habit is hard work, but it's harder to find work that would be more fulfilling. The mouth obeys poorly when the heart murmurs. He is a hard man who is only just, and a sad one who is only wise. Martin in particular concluded that man was born to live either in the convulsions of misery or in the lethargy of boredom. Virtue between men is a commerce of good actions. He who has no part in this commerce must not be reckoned. When he to whom one speaks does not understand, and he who speaks himself does not understand, that is metaphysics. Very learned women are to be found in the same manner as female warriors, but they are seldom or ever inventors. The husband who decides to surprise his wife is often very much surprised himself. If this is the best of possible worlds, what then are the others? This agglomeration, which was called and which still calls itself the Holy Roman Empire, was neither holy nor Roman nor an empire. I envy animals for two things: their ignorance of evil to come, and their ignorance of what is said about them. Life is a shipwreck, but we must not forget to sing in the lifeboats. We have a natural right to make use of our pens as of our tongue, at our peril, risk, and hazard. Independence in the end is the fruit of injustice. One merit of poetry few persons will deny: it says more and in fewer words than prose. If God did not exist, he would have to be invented. Theology is to religion what poisons are to food. God created women only to tame men. A witty quote proves nothing. All is but illusion and disaster. My life is a struggle. Happiness is not the portion of man. Very often, say what you will, a knave is only a fool. Of all religions, Christianity is without a doubt the one that should inspire tolerance most. She blushed, and so did he. She greeted him in a faltering voice, and he spoke to her without knowing what he was saying. History should be written as philosophy. Love is a cloth which imagination embroiders. Whenever an important event, a revolution, or a calamity turns to the profit of the Church, such is always signalized as the finger of God. Whoever serves his country well has no need of ancestors. Man is not born wicked, he becomes so, as he becomes sick. I know many books which have bored their readers, but I know of none which has done real evil. All styles are good except the tiresome kind. We look to Scotland for all our ideas of civilization. Whatever you do, crush the infamous thing, and love those who love you. I have seen men incapable of the sciences, but never any incapable of virtue. It would be easier to subjugate the entire universe through force than the minds of a single village. Your destiny is that of a man, your vows those of a god. Divorce is probably of nearly the same date as marriage. I believe, however, that marriage is some weeks the more ancient. The superstitious man is to the rogue what the slave is to the tyrant. To caress the serpent that devours us until it has eaten away our heart. All the ancient histories, as one of our wits say, are just fables that have been agreed upon. He who dies before many witnesses always does so with courage. All the arts are brothers, each one is a light to the others. He who has not the spirit of this age has all the misery of it. How inexpressible is the meanness of being a hypocrite! How horrible is it to be a mischievous and malignant hypocrite! The right of commanding is no longer an advantage transmitted by nature, like an inheritance. It is the fruit of labors, the price of courage. Friends should be preferred to kings. A torch lighted in the forests of America set all Europe in conflagration. The ancient Romans built their greatest masterpieces of architecture, their amphitheaters, for wild beasts to fight in. Know that the secret of the arts is to correct nature. Man is free the moment he wants to be. The adjective is the enemy of the noun. Variant, the adjective is the enemy of the substantive. A witty saying proves nothing. He who can lead you to believe in absurdity can lead you to commit an atrocity. What a heavy burden is a name that has become too famous. It is not sufficient to see and to know the beauty of a work. We must feel and be affected by it. There is an astonishing imagination, even in the science of mathematics. History in general is a collection of crimes, follies, and misfortunes among which we have now and then met with a few virtues and some happy times. Now is not the time for making new enemies. He who is not just is severe, he who is not wise is sad. Change everything except your loves. Time, which alone makes the reputation of men, ends by making their defects respectable. Everyone goes astray, but the least imprudent are they who repent the soonest. It is not a mistress I have lost, but half of myself, a soul for which my soul seems to have been made. Individual misfortunes give rise to the general good, so that the more individual misfortunes exist, the more all is fine. Prejudice is opinion without judgment. It is proved ... that things cannot be other than they are, for since everything was made for a purpose, it follows that everything is made for the best purpose. History consists of a series of accumulated imaginative inventions. But for what purpose was the earth formed? Asked Candide. To drive us mad, replied Martin. Our country is that spot to which our heart is bound. I am the best-natured creature in the world, and yet I have already killed 3, and of these 3 2 were priests. But in this country it is necessary, now and then, to put one admiral to death in order to inspire the others to fight. Everyone places his good where he can and has as much of it as he can, in his own way. Pleasantry is never good on serious points, because it always regards subjects in that point of view in which it is not the purpose to consider them. An admiral should be put to death now and then to encourage the others. No, nothing has the power to part me from you. Our love is based upon virtue and will last as long as our lives. If there had been a censorship of the press in Rome, we should have had today neither Horace nor Juvenal, nor the philosophical writings of Cicero. To a toad, what is beauty? A female with two lovely pop eyes, a wide mouth, yellow belly, and green spotted back. This is no time to make new enemies. A historian has many duties. The first is not to slander. The second is not to bore. Chess is a game which reflects most honor on human wit. Those who are absent, by its means become present. It is the consolation of life. The superfluous is very necessary. Why, since we are always complaining of our ills, are we constantly employed in redoubling them? Man can have only a certain number of teeth, hair, and ideas. There comes a time when he necessarily loses his teeth, hair, and ideas. Religion may be purified. This great work was begun 200 years ago, but men can only bear light to come in upon them by degrees. Antiquity is full of the praises of another antiquity still more remote. They are madmen, but you should not burn them for that. If you want to kill Christianity, you must abolish Sunday. He was not the greatest of men, but he was the greatest of kings. It is impossible to translate poetry. Can you translate music? Nothing is so common as to imitate one's enemies and to use their weapons. Society, therefore, is as ancient as the world. Those who believe absurdities will commit atrocities. Let us work without theorizing. 'Tis the only way to make life endurable. It must be confessed that the inventors of the mechanical arts have been much more useful to men than the inventors of syllogisms. History is but the record of crimes and misfortunes. El histoire n'est que le tableau des crimes et des malheurs. Learn to cultivate your own garden. I also know that we should cultivate our gardens. This is no time to be making new enemies. Nothing is more annoying than to be obscurely hanged. In this country we find it pays to shoot an admiral from time to time to encourage the others. God has punished the knave, and the devil has drowned the rest. What can I hope when all is right? You write your name in the snow yet say nothing. All the persecutors declare against each other mortal war, while the philosopher, oppressed by them all, contents himself with pitying them. Let us leave every man at liberty to seek into him, and to lose himself in his ideas. If we do not exert the right of eating our neighbor, it is because we have other means of making good cheer. No one is ignorant that our character and turn of mind are intimately connected with the water closet. The more estimable the offender, the greater the torment. For can anything be sillier than to insist on carrying a burden one would continually much rather throw to the ground? The multiplicity of facts and writings is become so great that everything must soon be reduced to extracts and dictionaries. Let us help one another to bear our burdens. I advise you to go on living solely to enrage those who are paying your annuities. It is the only pleasure I have left. I know of nothing more laughable than a doctor who does not die of old age. The discovery of what is true and the practice of that which is good are the two most important aims of philosophy. Not all citizens can be equally strong, but they can all be equally free. The abuse of grace is affectation, as the abuse of the sublime is absurdity. All perfection is nearly a fault. Often the prudent, far from making their destinies, succumb to them. Froth at the top, dregs at bottom, but the middle excellent. Luxury has been railed at for 2,000 years, in verse and in prose, and it has always been loved. The best way to be boring is to include everything. Virtue debases itself in justifying itself. This poem will never reach its destination. On Rousseau's Ode to Posterity. I swear that, not being able to be yours, I will belong to no one. The only way to see the value of a play is to see it acted. Feeble verses are those which sin not against rules, but against genius. The way to become boring is to say everything. When he who hears does not know what he who speaks means, and when he who speaks does not know what he himself means, that is philosophy. When a man is in love, jealous, and just whipped by the Inquisition, he is no longer himself. Heaven made virtue, man, the appearance. It has taken seas of blood to drown the idol of despotism, but the English do not think they bought their laws too dearly. Since the whole affair had become one of religion, the vanquished were of course exterminated. Meslier was the most singular phenomenon ever seen among all the meteors fatal to the Christian religion. Wine is the divine juice of September. My life's dream has been a perpetual nightmare. Every sensible man, every honorable man, must hold the Christian sect in horror. If there were no God, it would have been necessary to invent him. We must cultivate our own garden. It is fancy rather than taste which produces so many new fashions. Give me a few minutes to talk away my face, and I can seduce the Queen of France. Excellently observed, answered Candide, but let us cultivate our garden. When His Highness sends a ship to Egypt, does he trouble his head whether the mice on board are at their ease or not? I should like to lie at your feet and die in your arms. Doubt is not a very agreeable status, but certainty is a ridiculous one. Love truth and pardon error. Men fed upon carnage and drinking strong drinks have all an empoisoned and acrid blood which drives them mad in 100 different ways. Had no need of a guide to learn ignorance. Which quote did you like the most? Share your opinion in the comments. Don't miss out on a chance to see the next video. Subscribe.